Hello. So it is time to do this is the third update of the summer anyway. So this update was mostly a quality of life update. I fixed a lot of bugs. I added a lot of new features and new mechanics that are really subtle, just things to make the game feel a little smoother, and a ton of tiny little changes that I have written down here. So we're just gonna go through all of this whole list, and we're just gonna go through this whole list. All right. Number one, I realized that I did not like the player having multiple attack states. It was originally that the player, when they finished attacking, they would go into an inactionable attack cooldown, and then an actionable attack cooldown, and then they were able to act again. And then they were able to move again, I'm sorry. But I realized that with the sword combos, this felt really bad, because it would oftentimes means that your combos would just stop for seemingly no good reason, and I didn't like that. So I changed it to just be one attack timer called attack cooldown timer. So while this timer is active, you are allowed to act. You go and dash. You can attack again. You get the idea. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and show you. So as you can see, this makes the attacks feel way better and way faster and way snappier. That's a pretty cool benefit. And as you can see, a cool benefit of this is that I get to make the time cooldown way slower. I mean, way less long. So what I did is that I had the attack cooldown timer here, and I just set it to 0.3 seconds. The full cooldown used to be 1 whole second, and that felt slow. So now the total cooldown time is 0.3. I should probably note that down real quick. The player's total attack cooldown time was reduced from 1 second to 0.3 seconds. There you go. So now that we have that noted down. Anyway. Hey, so next up we have this. There used to be this thing where it used to be that the player would always attack facing the mouse cursor. And now you may think, oh, that's reasonable, but this led to a problem. Like, let's say that my mouse cursor was really close to the player, and then I attacked. What would happen is that the player would then go past the mouse cursor, and then mid-combo, the player would just suddenly attack in the other direction. And again, this felt awful because the player would change directions for, again, seemingly no good reason. So I implemented a change. Basically what it is that when the player begins an attack, it stores a direction in a variable, and that direction doesn't change until the attack is over. So now if I were to do a combo, even though the player crossed the cursor just then, the player keeps going in the same direction, which is pretty cool. Makes the game feel a lot smoother to play and a lot more fair. Remember, one of the chief rules of game design is that if the player fails, it should be the player's fault. It should never feel like it's the game's fault. Anyway, next up, what's next on the list? Oh yeah, next up, I added some functionality. Here I have the Sword Swing animation GD script now has a function called Start Interruptible, and Large Sword Swings animation now has a key to call this function here. The result of this is that now the end result of this is that now the Large Sword Swing is interruptible. And on the topic of interruption, you are now allowed to interrupt while thrusting, which means that, for example, okay, I keep forgetting that dash is now the space bar now. I keep thinking it's the right click. It's not the right click. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, hun. Okay, it doesn't seem to work properly. Okay, it's bugged. It's bugged. Okay, I gotta fix it. Okay, so for some reason it doesn't work. But you can also... But for example, if we were to charge the large attack, we can interrupt that with the dash, but the dash doesn't work, so now we gotta fix that. I will probably fix that the next time I develop. And I also fixed a bug where her... Man, oh man, it's not working. Okay, we got a lot of problems there. I'm gonna fix it all next time. Okay, what's next? Oh yeah. Dashes now simply apply a single force to the player, and we also changed some of the moves. The dash function no longer checks for controller input. And I did fix this bug, but it seems to have introduced a lot of extra attacks. Anyway, player now has an interrupt action function, which right here. This is it. This is the function that allows you to interrupt one action with another action, but it doesn't seem to be working properly at the moment. Anyway, what is it? Oh, also, the player originally had a value called dash direction, which would determine the value of anything, the direction of anything dash related. And the thing is that it was buggy, and I completely removed it, and now the input vector and input angle are used in its place, and it works just fine. And incidentally, this fixed a bug. If you looked back at my last bug report, you will notice that I said that there was a bug where for some reason, and if you dashed in certain directions, you would dash in completely other directions. This fixed that bug, so that's really cool. Oh, also we have some new utility functions here, angle to vector and vector angle. It's because I was just tired of writing these little bits of code, so I just wrote it. And I also made sure to use these throughout all of the different codes, and it works perfectly. So that's pretty cool. I now have a dedicated function for this. That's pretty cool. And if we go to the physics process, you can see it being used right there. What is it? Also, the player's script now uses input angle whenever possible, so that way it's more efficient, because I realized I would get the input angle, and then I would just get the input angle again and again and again, and like that was super inefficient, so this makes it a little quicker. What else have I gotten? Alright, it looks like that's everything. So it appears as if right now, the player has a bug where interruption doesn't seem to quite work. And I think I have an idea as to why it's causing that. But next time I do some development, which will probably be tomorrow, I'm gonna try very hard to get that finished. I consider that a top priority bug. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed soon. And I want to have like all of my bugs and all of my polished features done before I move on to things like special attacks and resources and more enemies. And basically I want to keep the current version of the game in a stable state that I'm happy with before I move up to version 1.3 or version 2, or maybe even move up to alpha. You get the idea. I want the game to be in a state I am happy with before I add something big and new and flashy. So I'm going to be sure to fix that before we move on to special attacks. Anyway, that's all for today. I'll see you tomorrow.